Alright, good evening everyone. This is the Select Board Water Commissioner meeting for Monday, June 10th, 2024. I'll read the agenda for this evening. Under old business, we have Franklin County Sheriff's Office policing proposal, masonry repairs to the town office building, and approve an interlocal agreement for Justin Mason as an assessor for the town. Under new business, we have Mike Johnston, zone administrator, and Danielle Turin, is that correct? Okay. She will be his assessor. We have a town clerk request for additional computer station, Juneteenth holiday for town employees, child care contribution beginning July 1st, roadside mowing RFP, town administrator's report, approved minutes of the May 28th meeting, sign payroll warrants and sign fleet permits. And then Brian, you gonna go on tonight?
I have a few questions on the audit.
Okay. Questions? And into you.
Nothing special.
Okay. And says here from the town highway department. Anything else we need to add?
Yes, I neglected the library. If you recall, there was a vacancy on the library trustees board, and they have selected someone that they'd like you to appoint to that board.
Okay.
So if we could take some action on that would be good. And I think I put fleet permits on there just because that's a standard issue, but I don't think there are any to approve. Of the fleet permits, I don't think there are any to approve.
Fleet permits, okay.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get started. Mike, you wanna have the system? Let us know what's going on here.
Sure thing. So this is Danielle Turin from our office. She'll be taking over as my position as zoning administrator if the town chooses to continue the contract. So we just kind of wanted to get a face-to-face, let y'all meet her, ask any general questions, and then if you have any questions for me regarding, so I think it's been a few months since I've been here, so if you have any general questions for me.
How much longer are you there?
The plan is the end of the month, so.
I want to thank you for your help with the town. Came in at the right time there. We needed somebody and really helped out. Got things going good. I think it'll be a smooth transition here because you've done a good job. So, good. Is there any big things coming up that we're gonna run into or?
Not that I'm aware of. Been off to a little bit slower than usual. In the past couple of years, a little bit slower, but we're still on mark to make right around that 40 permits a year mark. BRB's been a little slow this year. They've had one meeting so far, they have another one this month, so a little bit slower than the last few years. Complaints have no real complaints. Yeah, mostly just, sheds, pools, decks, and houses.
Yep.
Big four, so. That's really it from the zoning office.
From Slops. That sounds good.
So Danielle does have zoning experience. She's been in North Hero for
10 weeks.
10 weeks?
2.5 months.
For 2.5 months she's been working in North Hero. The permit tempo is higher up there, down there. So should be able to seamlessly take over this office with the slightly lower permits that come in every week. And she's already kind of shadowed me a little bit. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
No, was that last week?
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
And we're gonna kind of do that for the remainder of the month. So that way she can just kind of get the flow of the office, day-to-day business.
Sounds good.
So,
Yeah, look forward to working with you, Danielle.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
and I am, happy I got to spend as much time in Sheldon as I did.
Yeah,
It's a good place to work, so.
yeah. Good luck with all your endeavors, where you're off to, but, so,
Yeah, big question mark right now. Been a busy couple weeks.
yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for all your time. Good luck. All right.
Danielle will also be working with us, correct, on the planning board?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so that would come with the
zoning
contract.
and the contracts and
Yes.
stuff like that.
I
Yeah.
mentioned Clark at the area.
Right. The town plan, Mike has been with us in the Northwest Regional Board working on it. You guys should receive a copy hopefully by the end of the month,
Okay.
so you guys can look at it, and then we'll move forward with our meetings and approvals probably in July.
Yeah, so the final planning commission meeting will be June 25th,
Yes.
so the last Tuesday of this month. So once that meeting is over, then the copy can get brought to the select board, and then I'm not sure if there is a 30-day public notice, there might be for that one, so 30 days after that, there'll be a select board final, or a select board meeting to adopt or deny that plan proposal.
So is the public hearing still planned for the 25th?
Yep, but at the planning commission level,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
And that's been warned. Greta and myself in the office have made sure that got warned properly through all the newspapers, online resources, so that's been warned.
Okay.
See if anyone shows up.
All right.
And yeah, we've been in, NRPC is, I was obviously aware that we want to continue this relationship with them. I just haven't quite received back their draft of the contract for Danielle to take over, but I'm anticipating I'll get that probably this week. So the next meeting, we can look at that.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, thanks everyone. Nice to meet you.
Seth, what's going on?
The new hire started today.
Good.
I think he'll be a good asset for the town. The few hours I had a chance to talk with him, we went straight to work. It was a good conditions for grading and going today, so we took care of Colin, Gilman and Patterson Road. Tomorrow I have another load coming in the mid-morning, so we'll hit up a few more. That makes 10,000 gallons. And I'll have another 5,000 coming tomorrow, so we should be able to wrap it up by the end of this week. We did all the, I started a few weeks ago when the conditions were good. And I did the main drags. And then we'll end up doing all the dead ends last. And where the traffic isn't too bad. It's been relatively decent. I mean, really, they don't need to be graded almost, but in order to get the chloride to stick good, you have to rough them up a little bit.
Yeah. The roads for paving are all set to go.
Yeah, yep. We just need some, we need to, on Mill Hill, we need to order some high rises for the manholes. I just have to pick them up at some point.
Yeah, we're planning to get some hot mix this week, maybe later this week,
Yeah.
to fill in a few holes up and do some shimming in the deeper places before the contractor gets here.
It's planned for like the last weekend of June.
Yeah, that last time I spoke with Joe, that was when they were
Okay.
looking to possibly get started. I want to get it as close to when the grant funds are available as possible. But
Have you had a chance to go down to the back parking lot of the fire department, check out?
I have not, but it's on the list.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure there was good base.
Yeah.
Before we expand it.
Yeah, that's gonna be done by another contractor, so,
Yeah,
we still
you
have
heard from them when they're,
No, I unfortunately have not heard back from them yet. That's more on me, I'm sorry about
no,
that.
it's no
Yeah.
no big deal, I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, that one, that's fallen off of my list a little bit, but I'll get in touch with them right away here, and see if we can get that scheduled. But, yeah, if the base is good, then that's great, otherwise, we could play, we have, with 2 guys, we can get that done, I think. Yeah, so I talked with Joe, I think he might even be able to help us with getting some of those manhole risers, because he says he goes down there all the time. The only problem is that talking to Hubert, our sewer system is kind of unique, I guess. I think the standard sewer manholes are 24 inches and ours are only 20. He said it's basically us and some other city in Ohio that has this unique arrangement, so maybe we'll see if there's any difficulty in getting what we need to get that done, but we're not adding, a half a foot to the road, so hopefully it won't be too difficult to get a riser for that. The other thing is, if we can, we're gonna try to do some ditching there on Mill Street before the pavement goes down, just to try to fix those,
Yeah,
water going over the road problems there.
see, there's a little gravel on our own, the other line. Where are we with the camera?
All right, so that's, the sewer, Minash is coming this Friday to do that work, yeah. And Hubert, I talked about that this morning. There was somebody here this morning working with him, but,
yeah, we'll go around this week and loosen up all the covers and make sure everything's cool. And then, so when they get here Friday, it'll just be easy peasy and they can run it's almost like a little RC car they drive up through. So we'll let you know the results as soon as we hear from them.
and I did ask them to bring a jetter with them, so that if we get stuck like we did last time, we should be able to blast through that and keep the camera going, so we'll get a full picture of the whole street.
Yeah.
Obviously, well, since Seth's here and he was there last, on the 1st, we fixed that water leak down in the springs, fairly satisfactory. We did have to go truck some gravel there because we could get fairly close to the highway, so we had to go get some. Luckily Seth was there, we could get over and get some gravel before the boardwalk closed down for the day. And anyway, by all appearances, that has been fixed satisfactory. Hubert said the water readings are down. Yeah, they're kind of mid-50s, 55,000 for the water usage right now, which is lower than it was. So took a little longer than we were planning, and the water was off longer than we were planning. But if it's fixed, that's the good idea.
Yeah.
That's what we were going for. So.
Everything else takes a little bit longer.
Right.
At least it didn't go in through the whole weekend, right? Yeah.
I believe this is 2 times you graded all the roads pretty much, or 3 on some of them,
Yeah, it's been at least twice. Some of the main drags been 3 times, this will be the 3rd time. They should be good for majority of the summer. Like Duffy Hill and whatnot doesn't ever last all year. Usually you have to do it again before school starts. It all depends how much rain we get and what the conditions are. So I'll have a little glory out here for doing that later in there.
And
We hooked up 2 water services in the creek here, 2 new building lots. Now Hill Road and Church Street.
Yeah.
Church Street, the contractor had to dig across the road to make it work. So it was a good time to do it now, and we'll let it pack for a few weeks before it gets paved.
Yeah.
they had to do that because they've installed a new septic system there, so the water line had to be moved to avoid that. But that should be the cost for that should fall on the homeowner, not on the town, but we did assist with that. It's good to get certain parts and all that down there. And there's one other thing with the roads I was gonna get to, but I can't remember right now. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. Unfortunately, as I think I told all of you guys, unfortunately, one of the folks that we thought we were gonna hire apparently has a better opportunity, so we'll have to discuss what action we'd like to take on that, but
Yeah.
for now, at least Seth won't be by himself. We'll be able to carry on for a little while here with 2 men, and that'll make I won't have to give him a ride up to bring the chloride up after the grader is up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about the roadside mowing?
Oh, right, so
Where was that?
we have someone who is interested in that. I didn't know, I put it on the agenda here because I kind of drafted up a request for bids. I assume that is the way we ought to do that, but I'm not, and so I have a proposal written up here so I can read it to you. But basically it would be all the class 2 and 3 roads in Sheldon. I mean, a lot of places people mow their lawns, so it doesn't have to be done, but if the tractor has to drive by the road to get to there, then it's gonna be,
That's
so.
how we've always
Yeah.
figured it, mileage wise.
Right, so he, the fella the one person we found who was interested in that, he also does Enosburg's. Unfortunately, he's getting started on Enosburg's this week, I think, or soon, so I assume that'll take him a week or more to get done with theirs, but if I can get if you guys are okay with what I've got drafted, if I can get that out in order for you guys to approve the bids at the next select board meeting, presumably this guy will be ready to, if he is the successful bidder, he would be available to start immediately, I think.
Okay.
So last week of June, first week of July, and then I think ideally we'd have him do it again toward the end of August before Labor Day. So I've kind of included language that it would be done first cut between June 25th and, I don't know, July 8th, something like that. And then the second one would be done the last 2 weeks of August at some point. So anyway, he seems to have the right rate. Again, as I said, he's done this for Enosburg for a few years now, I guess. So he's not as familiar with the roads in Sheldon, but I don't think it'll. I said I'll give him all the maps he needs and things like that. He'll be fine. So yeah.
Okay.
We can't think of anything else. Yeah.
The 2018 winter round cords had a cracked leaf spring in the front. So it's kind of a safety issue. So when you change one, they change both of them, so they both got changed. That truck's been parked since. And then the 2015 Western Star had a bad ground or something that really on one of the four-way flashers drained the battery. So we found that and put a battery. That was the only truck that didn't have the shut off in it. So I had to install one of those. Other than that, everything's in good shape.
Have you had a chance to look into salt shed?
I think there used to be more grants available for that, but I haven't. What I need to do is call. I think it would be either Natural Resources or one of the environmental departments at the state government would be the place to talk to about that, because if there is grant funding available, that would be through them, because they're trying to mitigate saltwater runoff into streams.
Yeah.
So I have not looked into that yet, but I know the number to call. So I determined that a little while ago. But yeah, we do need to look at salt sheds. And when we do get to the salt shed, I also think we should. It would be a good time to contemplate where we might want to put a kennel out there if we want to do that at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's on the to-do list, is finding some money for a salt shed or different ideas for ways it could be done economically if we can't get some grant funds.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when does now that you're a two-man crew, which obviously is a relief for you after the last few weeks, but still not a full, do you have any like summer vacation coming up? When does that need for that three-man crew like really come in?
Maybe not till then, August or something.
Okay.
Till then, we'll keep, like I said, we have a bunch of hot mixing to do with a bunch of holes around town, and we got, still keep up with all the lawns and cemeteries, and we'll finish doing the grading work. Yeah, that'll take us to the end of the month anyway.
Right, and when we start doing the grant work, we'll have a lot of driveways and road shoulders to fill in the gravel too. So.
Hopefully we'll have someone else in place before you go on vacation, so you guys
Yeah.
not alone.
Whatever, I'll keep building it, saving for next year, I guess.
Anything else you need from us?
Good.
Can you let me know what it's got?
I have a small list of like projects I could think of, but I can get that next time you guys are all here.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good then, I guess.
Good night, Rick.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. So what do you got for audit questions, Brian? I don't know if we can help you.
And the audit said there was a letter sent out February 2nd to the managers, to the management. Any recollection of that, of the contents of that?
Stand by, I'm looking through my official email to see if I received anything. Is it February 2nd?
So it says,
Okay.
It's a letter from who?
auditors.
From Smith and there's something that we, yeah,
Yeah,
I can't think of the other two names on there. It's in Maine.
right, yeah. R.H. Smith and Company.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Waiting on technology is not good because it's spinning right now, but as soon as it comes out, Ryan, I'll let you know if I received anything. Right now I'm at February 19th. I'm just outside of the window that I need to be.
That's what it says in the budgetary highlights.
Does it say anything about that letter?
No. It says the actual revenues were above budgeted amounts by $837,614. Then on the same, different paragraph, and the expenditures were over budgeted by $387,327. So to me, there should have been money left over to reduce the budget.
Well, no, that expenditures, is that total, I have to see what they did, was that the CARES money that we have? Just to over budget for $300-something thousand. It's kind of noticeable, I think. So I know that we received, how much did we stand by?
But when we look at the book, there's no numbers in the book, so you can't really tell what's going on. There's no, the totals were not added up and the expenditures were added up. So you don't really know, by looking at the book, you can't tell what's going on. But this is what the auditor's report said.
I'm sorry.
I do not have anything from in February, from the auditors, so I'm not sure who that letter was sent to. We can check with our town clerk and see if she received it in early February.
So reported to the management. I'm assuming you're the management.
But we weren't point of contact for the auditor, so they might have just said management and sent it to the point of contact, so we'll check with town clerk. So are you hoping that we include the auditor or improve the report to reflect the auditor, the report that we received from the auditor? Is that what the purpose of what you're saying is, that the numbers don't add up, so you'd like to see the town report improved so it accurately reflects the auditor's report?
And to look at the auditor's report,
Yep.
it's very hard to follow it.
Okay, I can't do anything about the auditor's report.
You can transfer some of the numbers together, but all the numbers don't transfer back and forth.
Well, if you start right in the beginning of this, general fund balance here, you know, budgeted, we didn't budget anything for current taxes, and that was $1,161,000. So you get down to the total tax, and it was budgeted $179,560, and there was $1,835,000 collected. So that'll mess your budget up in a hurry. Because a lot of times we don't budget much on income stuff, because it's hard to know what you're getting. Like if you get a grant, you know, the fire department revenue, they received a grant for $119,000. We didn't, you know, budget anything for that, you know, so that throws off your numbers in the end. The expense side, on the other hand, that's what we do try.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't there discussion around fiscal year versus calendar year with this regarding the budget? So, in
Yeah,
the auditing?
If you're looking for the thing that's on page 10,
No, I was looking for the letter from the auditors. The one that you received. Not the one that was from the town report.
I haven't received it. I was just asking.
What are you reading for the discrepancies from the auditor report? Are you talking about the town book?
No, the auditor's report.
That's what I'm saying, I'm looking for the auditor's report to be sent to me.
Yeah. One moment.
Because to me, if they're saying that they over budgeted 300 and some odd thousand, if the budget's the same thing this year, approximately as it was last year, are we looking at the same amount?
Have to see where that money was over budgeted, where it came from.
Yeah,
what
I
the-
don't know.
I mean, Brian, realistically,
Right.
we can't answer like a number without seeing context to it right now, like.
And to me, when you look through this, it's like real hard to follow. It's
Yeah.
not real simple, so it's like, and there's only a few of the numbers you can transfer back and forth that they're in the audit report and then the town report. And the rest of them, it's like, your guess is as good as mine.
So what would make the town report easier for you, and when you say like it's hard to understand where the numbers are coming from? I mean, what improvements are you specifically looking for or recommending for this report that would make it easier for you?
For their report to match our report.
Okay, so like I said earlier, you like the auditor report to match up with the town report, make sense across the board.
Correct. That way, it's a lot easier to see.
And that's the conversation that we had about, we don't receive the auditor's report until this point after town meeting day, so whether we start requesting that report in time to include it in the town report, and making sure those numbers match up ahead of time, is what you're looking for?
Right.
Okay.
But some of the numbers in the town report match the auditor's report. So I'm questioning
Don't match or
that.
don't match?
Some match. So I'm questioning, it's like, how would that number match that number if you didn't have the report?
Well, I hope that they would match, because then that'd be good news if they matched.
Which your, town meeting day, they said they didn't have the auditor's report.
Right?
Right.
Well, so then
Which
the
will
accounting,
have the matching number in the town report.
well, the accounting was,
I mean, the accounting was good though,
Right.
right? Like, we received the auditor's report and our numbers matched it, and we're like, everything's good. It'd be more of an issue if we received the auditor's report and our numbers were way off those numbers. Wouldn't that be more of a concern?
I'm not following. What I'm at, the question I'm asking is like, you got the numbers in the town report, and you match the numbers in the auditor's report, but the auditor's report wasn't out yet.
Right.
So how did you match the number? If
which,
it wasn't out yet?
Because they
You
were,
mean it wasn't finished yet? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, they said, town meeting day, it wasn't received yet.
Well, Brian, my understanding, and I'm just a layman, but my understanding is that our treasurer and town clerk, you know, she, I believe, her assistant, Demetrius, I believe, balances the accounts with the checkbook on a monthly basis. That is one thing that they do. I know that they do that. And at the end of the year, assuming that each one of those checks is correct, that means at the end of the year, they run that check, that they reconcile that, and it is correct. Now, the process that the auditor firm does, I believe, is somewhat different than that, in that I believe what they do is more of a random sampling of different periods within the year to make sure that they're not necessarily going back and looking at every single data point throughout the entire year. I think what they're doing is taking random samples out of a large budget and making sure that each of those random samples is correct.
the accounting practices.
That's how I think they do it. I could be wrong about that. And I must confess, I have not read through it in great detail. My understanding, like I said, was that when the town clerk looked at it and she looked at what the auditor had come up with as their, a final number that would balance the entire town accounts, and the variance that she saw in their initial report was explained by two transactions that happened very late in the year past our tax deadline that had to do with current use. And once those two transactions that were billed in January, and then we received the funds for them in this year, in 2024, once the receipt of those funds was taken into account, the final numbers matched. And that is how the town clerk was interpreting that that our books were correct according to the audit. As I said, I don't know that the audit proceeds in a way that goes month by month and every transaction to make sure that everything matches with what's in the town report for the whole year.
It was explained to us by the auditors the same way you explained it. They look at the big picture and they sample here and there just to make sure everything's, nothing screwy going on, and make sure everything looks right.
Right, so I'm saying,
With their conclusion.
right, the method that they use does not necessarily comport with what you might be expecting in terms of the audit looks the same as the town report book in terms of the numbers that are there. And I think I understand. Brian, as someone who's looked at historical town reports, that is the truth. I think that was the traditional method when we had town auditors and we had a much smaller town budget, that there would be a list of select board orders, there'd be a treasurer's report, and there'd be an auditor's report. And it was kind of very easy to follow the money from fund to fund and from report to report. And I think it's sort of a function of the fact that we have town government is larger, it's more complicated than it used to be. We have revenue as well as, we have revenue from different sources. There's obviously the sewer and water department is kind of self-sustaining in itself. We have tax revenue, we have grant revenue, we have funds we receive from the federal government, from state government. So it's, and it's a multi-million-dollar budget now, and we don't have, in the past, we used to have money put into separate funds for different reasons, and they were kept in those funds. But accounting practices now is, it's more intelligent to keep it as all kind of one cash flow, or at least a limited number of accounts, so that you're not, let's put it this way, it doesn't make much sense to have a surplus in some of your funds and then you go to the bank to borrow money so that you can keep your checkbook account in balance when you have funds from in other places available to your use. And so that is, my understanding is the accounting method that we take now, that we use now, is one where that's where, as you see in the town report, there is money that is due to or from each account that is listed there, and that is showing that either this fund is owed some funds from other funds, or it is going to pay out funds to other funds, so that the whole system will be in balance in the end. And I understand that that is confusing to understand if you think about the way that town reports were traditionally done, but it is, again, this is, my understanding is that both the accountant, or the auditing firm and our treasurer are doing what are understood to be best practices for large enterprise, municipal corporations and businesses of this sort of size, that these are the practices that should be done, and they are not, I appreciate that they're not as easy to understand as the traditional town report was, in terms of, like I said, there was sort of redundancy in terms of how the money was spent, who accounted for the money, and then who checked the money afterward. So I'm sorry for the rather long-winded response, but that's my understanding of how it, of why it is not easy to understand where to follow the numbers exactly the same way. I think what we're really coming down to is that this is a reputable auditing firm, and they've done, I think, a substantial audit of our funds, and they are telling us that they are confirming that our treasurer is correct in her assessment of the way that the town budget is operating. Again, sorry for the speech.
They stated that we were in, there was no issues with non-compliance noted, and they noted any other issues in that letter on February 2nd. For checks and balances, we could ask Matt to obtain that letter.
Yep,
and to be the
absolutely.
POC for the auditing company, and take a look at that, if there was anything abnormal in those reports.
But from my understanding, until meeting day, they said the report wasn't ready.
It wasn't ready yet.
But how did the numbers come in the book and the town report that matched the auditor's report?
I don't know.
That's, I'm just asking the question.
Well, these are the actual numbers that are in the book.
Right.
And that's what the auditors use for numbers, the actual numbers that were given to them by the town.
I guess my question is, like, how much was in the bank on December 31st in the general fund?
I don't know, whatever she had in the bank, I guess, I'm not sure.
Because on January 1st, we had 247,000.
Okay.
On December 31st, we had 1,974,000.
What page are you on? There's 60 pages here, Brian, you can't just.
15 of the town report.
Of the town, or you're on the audit anymore? Okay.
No, just of the town report.
1.974 million. And then right off the bat, we were the negative for 1.27, that was due to other funds. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. But the 1.2 hasn't been paid yet, so I'm looking at the bottom of that 247, what was in it January 1st. Then that,
No, that's what's balanced in the fund, that doesn't mean there, it says in the general fund checking account, there's $1,974,000.
right,
But she's got $1,273,000 that are due to other places. So that only leaves a balance of actual available money of $247,000.
no. The 247 was at January 1st.
No. I just said what fund balance is. Doesn't
If you
change.
look at last year's book, what was it at the end of last year, so it has to be at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
If I'm correct. The end of one year is the beginning of the next year's.
So what is it you were hoping that the auditors didn't pick this up, that there's money missing, that it's just hard to read and you're confused where the numbers are? What is the purpose of?
I'm just saying, you had a lot of money left in the book, we should have used some of that money to reduce our, our taxes, our expenses.
Okay.
But it's not real clear to see how much it is, because the totals on the revenue are not added up, and the totals on the expenses are not added up.
Right.
Wasn't a big portion of that the ARPA funds?
Which we can't allocate for certain purposes, so I guess we don't include it in
Right.
our pay we need for it. Because the fund balance for ARPA was $664,519. I guess that's a good portion of what you're considering as the missing portion from 1.9 to 1.2. Right?
But a bunch of that was carried over from last year.
Right, but it was separate. We couldn't use that just to say, hey, we're gonna reduce your tax rate. It had to be allocated for certain projects.
Right. But to say that there's that much in it, there was like 500 last year, so it only increased by 100. If you look at last year's book.
The due from other
see
funds to the fund balance, you're saying, right?
Right.
Right. Now that we're on the federal money, what is the hope there? That just some of the extra money would have led to some other financial decisions that would have led to a lower tax rate? I'm confused at what the end game, Brian, I guess what I'm saying. Are we looking for a clearer report and a clearer, alignment to get the auditing? Or was it, hey, why do we have this surplus and where did that trickle down go?
Correct.
And you're saying because of that surplus, I couldn't follow because of the way the report is done.
Correct.
Okay. So the good news is that we hired a town administrator with, one of the things that we discussed was making the town report clearer. I know that town meeting day, we also discussed, do we need to move certain dates? Reaching out to our auditors, do we need to have the audit every year? Do we do it every third year? Do we make sure that it's requested by certain dates so we can include those numbers or letters, information in our current report? So it's kind of like a funky thing where we discussed this at town meeting day, and I agreed with you. Like if it's unclear for people sitting in the audience, then we gotta revisit what we're doing. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish this fall when we sit down and say, okay, it's time to the budget, formatting of the book and all those things would be looked at and considered as well. But it's nothing I can do. I can't, if anybody else here is thinking different, I don't think there's a whole lot of solutions we can offer you right now in June. Just that we know when we're gonna be working on it for the next book that comes out.
Because to me, like the outside audit report should look similar to the report that's in a town report.
Well, it's tough too, right? Because the audit report that they sent us, I saw was 60 pages. So that would double the size of this book right here, just to include the audit report.
But it's 60 pages, but a lot of pages are like this. So it ain't like it's all numbers.
Right. And I don't know if that's gonna make it easier to include a 60-page audit report to to, you know what I mean? Like, if you look through that audit report, and I just glanced at it, and I'm speaking way more than I planned on, that could be real confusing real quick in terms of like, so are we doing anything wrong or right? And it really comes down to what they send back in that letter to say, we didn't find any major issues or non-compliance with your accounting practices.
Right, that's what I'm saying on that, the one page, it says that you basically under budgeted the revenue and you over budgeted the expenses.
Yep.
Yep. And then where, you wanna know where those monies came from in the future report. Like, what happened here?
And it ain't so much where the money comes from, but I look at it, there should be extra money in the checkbook so that we should be able to use that money to reduce the expenses, to reduce the taxes.
Gotcha.
Because it's like, why do we need $700,000 in a checkbook? When we could use some of that to put against the expenses to reduce taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Is the checkbook just getting bigger and bigger as far as income? I don't know neither.
No. No, my understanding is that last year we had more money in the checkbook because of the ARPA funds. Like, that was a 2-year thing where we used a certain amount from COVID and then a certain amount in the next year. And that's a lot of the sewer project from Mill Street is being part of that, and some other things that we've allocated, like for infrastructure. So I would suspect that next year at this time would be a much different conversation with how much funds we have left over, depending on the speed at which we're able to get those projects underway. So that's kind of the best I can do is that, you know, we understand, we agree. We're gonna work on it next time around. We'll have, you know, have the discussions about the auditor dates to include what, you know, make sure that the book looks easier to digest, makes sense. To people that don't have an accounting degree, because I don't have an accounting degree. So,
I don't need it, I can balance the checkbook.
yeah.
I just went over the highlights. No, I found in the report that said that. Then it said the letter was sent out February 2nd, so that was about a month before town meeting day, so.
Mhm. We'll have to check and see what that letter said.
So I'm assuming that it didn't make a mistake.
I feel, no, I'm thinking if memory serves me right, like she brought the letter in at the meeting and we discussed it and there's just, it's nothing notable, it's just your accounting practices are on here. Like, here's some minor things you could do to tweak it. You know, they didn't come back and say like, you have catastrophic failure across the board, and like, what's going on over there? Was, if I recall.
Because I know in years past when they did the other outside audit report, the inside auditors found a discrepancy in the numbers. And the outside auditor said the number wasn't big enough to chase. So I said, how do we leave that?
Well, you're gonna pay somebody $100 an hour to chase 20 signs. You know, they're looking at the big picture, right? And the big picture is really good. But in the beginning, when we first got an auditor firm in here, when Paula left and Kim started, they had a bunch of things that they wanted upgraded and changed to meet these accounting practices, because the town wasn't meeting those practices before. There was multiple checkbooks and there was multiple, you know, this and that, and Kim has done a good job in her years in the office of getting that, to get back an auditor's report saying there's no major things going on. That, you know, that's a good sign that things are running pretty smoothly around here, so. And, you know, as far as, you're not gonna find an accounting firm that'll balance your checkbooks for you. Well, they might, I guess, if you wanna pay them, but, they're looking at, you know, the big picture, what's going on, making sure there's nothing, you know, money being scammed or whatever, but, making sure the accounting is done properly and checkbooks are kept, you know, going. But as far as the town report, you know, I think we can simplify a lot of those reports and maybe do a separate report or a separate budget for, you know, like we used to do, where you can read them and understand them. But, you know, as far as the money, I don't have an exact answer, but I mean, we voted on a general fund expenditure of $2,014,000, of which $1,392,000 was gonna be raised by taxes, so some of that might have been that money coming back into the account that we didn't spend the previous year, and I'll have to look at it. You know, some of it's money we know we're getting in from the state or whatever for class 2, 3 highway grants and things like that, but I know in previous years when we did our budget where Kim came in and said, you know, this didn't work out, we were supposed to do something and we didn't spend that money. Well, it was the year we did the paving wasn't available till November, and so we canceled it. So, you know, we had budgeted $100 and something thousand for paving, and we rolled that back into the next year's budget, and because it was surplus there, we didn't just budget another $100,000 and double that number. So, you know, we do our best to look at the numbers and do what we need to do with it, but.
And to me, the other thing is put a date in front of the number, beside the number, so you know on that date, that was that amount. Because when they show the numbers, like, well, is that the end of the year or the beginning of the year?
So it goes on our year, and this town goes on a calendar year. At some point, I think we're gonna have to get into the whole fiscal year stuff, because a lot of the state programs and stuff everybody goes on the fiscal year. The only kicker on that is you gotta approve a half year and a full year budget all at one time, and so it makes it a little messy for the first year and a half till you get, you know, switched back around. I'm sure, you know, the expenses aren't anymore in the long term, it's just you're shifting it when your year starts and when your year ends. I know there have been, you know, I know some towns that have done it, and you end up getting a tax bill for a half year, and then you get the tax bill for the next year, but then you get on track with most of the other state, I think a lot of the towns and you know, the state and everything's all on the what is it, July 1st?
Yeah.
July 1st time schedule there for all the stuff. But we haven't taken that step yet, but at some point we'll probably have to think about it, I guess, but so that's about the best we can offer you for now, right? Keep up with all that stuff most we can and make the look more user friendly, I guess. No, I see your point on this budget stuff. It is hard to, you know, to look at that and figure it out, but it's the way her accounting program works, and so she prints off these budgets and then we fill in the numbers as we go along, but.
Right, well, I was just reading that out of their report, that's all. That's what they had in their report.
And hopefully we can work with them to get that done before town meeting too, so we'll have that all, you know, have it all audited. Which would, you know, that's one of the other cases of if we went to a, you know, July 1st, and you know, you've got time to get that stuff done before town meeting. You're not quite so rushed, but when you do it, get done December 31st, and then you meet first part of March, it's a little tight schedule for them, I guess, but I think they can, you know, if we ask them and make sure we have everything to them on January 1st, and I would think maybe they could probably get that done for us. All right, we need to move on. Stay here too late. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Library trustee.
Yeah.
You have,
Yeah, so as the trustee, I went to the last trustees meeting on May 30th, and they, as I said, I think Hillary Mead resigned from that position, I think just before town meeting day, so I never got on the warning for town meeting day, but as you guys might recall, so John Stryker was elected to the one seat that was available at that time, but one of the other people who ran was Jane Lanza, and they'd like to appoint Jane to fill the rest of Hillary's term until town meeting. So that is the recommendation of the trustees board.
Need a motion?
yeah, I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the library trustees for Jane Lanza to fill that role till town meeting day.
No, second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That'll work.
Thank you.
That Juneteenth holiday, that we need to decide that tonight, when is it?
It's supposed to be June 19th, so that would be next Wednesday. So I put that on the agenda because I had two town employees ask me about that. And not only is it a federal holiday, but recently the governor signed a law making it a state holiday as well, so.
It's a state and
Correct, yeah.
all right, we usually go by almost all the state holidays, so,
Need a motion for that?
yeah.
I'll make a motion for Juneteenth to be recognized as a town holiday in accordance with state and federal calendars.
No, second it.
All right, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Child care contribution, that one begins July 1st.
Yeah, correct. So,
That is what is it, a point?
24.
I think it is 0.44% on
0.44% total that needs to be paid into the state.
on Vermont wages. Wages. I don't think anybody in Sheldon ever does work outside the state of Vermont, or for the town, but hypothetically, if we did, those wages would not be subject to it. But so the employee contribution is, again, supposed to be 0.44%, I believe, and then, but the employee can be asked to make a contribution. If the employer elects to, the employee can make a contribution of up to 0.11% from their share on the payroll tax. So I guess the question before the board is whether the town is going to pay the full amount or whether you want to elect to have the employees contribute as well. As I said, just the town clerk told me that in her discussions with other town clerks that most towns are electing to just pay it, have the town pay the full portion. To your discretion. I did find that the state has a website with a number of resources about this. There's going to be a webinar about it tomorrow, but it's going out to you guys tonight. But anyway, but I did print out that literature. case it was helpful.
So I guess we're on the hook for this regardless. It's up to us if we want employees to take a piece of that or what's thoughts? Let's see, just pay it.
Same. I think it's hard to make an attractive place or competitive place for the employees trying to bring in if we're not gonna take more money with them.
Alright,
I agree.
alright. I'll get a motion to down pays the total contribution then.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Alright. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I think we'll cover that portion of the tax. Town clerk's request for an additional computer station.
So, there have been a few times recently here where there've been multiple people in the town office doing title searches, other real estate transaction searches, and we only have one computer station available for people to use. And so there have been situations where people have been waiting around to have access to those resources. We do need to, you know, in due time, there's going to be some computer upgrades that need to be made around here. So I think the town clerk's request was to upgrade one of the computers for the assistant town clerks and to move that existing computer over and have that be accessible for property research for the public to do.
Sounds like that one
Yeah.
is 7 years old. So he would repurpose that one and then upgrade. Put in a new one for the assistant.
Correct.
So we got a approximate total quote is $1,830. $1190 for the computer. $570 for labor. That's to replace the all data and setting, upgrade email only license. Then put that old one in. You'd have to install some stuff in that, configure it to use as public station. We get it set up. That, when they come in to search, they can't, that stuff isn't online. Well, of course, you gotta come in and get the copies out of it.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think so our town, our property records are online we use a website called US Land Records. It's not housed in our website, but it's no, I'm not sure if that's, I know that they are searchable online through that website. I'm not sure if that's exactly the same system she's got here. I'm not sure if that system has access to the maps that we have and things like that. I've not looked at that myself, so, but I suppose that would be an alternative, but not everybody, I mean, people can look at it on their phone, I guess, but that's not quite as useful as, and then I think the real asset of having that computer is that people are able to print from it to the copier and then pay the clerk for the copies, because what they're usually coming in for is getting paper copies so that they can, do some court filings or something. So I think the real value added is the connection to that printer. But
So Kim feels there's a need for that second one.
She does, I think so, yeah. Now, I know Rick, she took interest in the email that we got about that you had been looking for some computers from government surplus, and, you know, she said that if that was an alternative, you know, she'd be fine with that, but I think the idea here was to, as I said, some of the computers in the office will need, you know, in due time are gonna need upgrading, so I think the idea was to upgrade one of those now and, you know, repurpose the existing computer, and then we won't have to, that's the one less computer we'll have to upgrade later. But, again, she had some interest in what you had found, and she said that would, if you didn't want to entertain that, this idea now, that could be an alternative.
Does the library have workstations?
They have one desktop and they have a laptop that the assistant uses, so.
But nothing for the public?
They have one computer for the public, correct. They have one computer station for the public.
Where are you with the upgrade?
Yeah, unfortunately Comcast came on a day that Matt wasn't here. And the good news is the part that I thought was could be fraught, it was fine. They were able to bring the line over here to the building. Once they got to the building, they claimed that they were gonna have some difficulty getting into the room where their modem would have to be. So they said, well, you'll have to get your IT guy or an electrician in to do that, and we'll come back later. When I told Matt about this, he was very skeptical about why they couldn't have done that. So anyway, they're coming in 10 days. That was as soon as I could get them. So they're coming on the 20th. So it's going to happen a couple weeks later than I hoped it would. But Matt's available that day, so somebody will bring the cord into the server room and hook it up, and then I assume we'll be in running order pretty soon after that. So by the next time you guys meet, we should be on the Comcast service.
By doing that, they won't bother that server to add another computer.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so.
Can't be,
yeah.
because he would have mentioned.
Right, Matt
Because
would,
he's the one that does all that.
Right, yep.
So it doesn't sound like it'd be a problem.
No, if anything, it can't happen soon enough, because I forgot that there was I had a fairly large file on my computer that I had meant to delete. I had made a recording of our previous meeting, and I meant to delete it once I was done using it to write the minutes. And anyway, that was, when I got to the work today, that was syncing, and so it basically took the whole computer network down because of one file on my computer. And so Matt said that when we upgrade to Comcast, that won't be a problem anymore. So Kim was mad at me because, of course, I did that while she was trying to do payroll. So we had some fun this morning. Anyway, so I think having another computer on will not be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thoughts on this, guys?
I didn't know you had an issue or a conversation about surplus.
Oh, no, I had, I'm looking for myself, for the fire department, and, yeah, so that's what that was all about, the email, I don't know how the email got right here.
I'm not sure why they called us, they got in touch with us either, but I guess they didn't know how to get in
So,
touch
yeah.
with you directly. But, yeah.
So, yeah, there's some excess equipment that's available nationwide, however, hardware, or the hard drives are either sanitized or removed, so you have to re-enable buying the hard drive for the computer. So they are available at, fairly cheap, but they're older units. I mean, there's nothing brand new. So, I mean, it's a luck of the draw, and I'm still looking right now, so. So I think the idea of getting, another computer there is valid, obviously.
Yeah.
To use. I mean, 1800 is not that bad.
And it would make sense to use the older one for that and upgrade.
For sure.
All right. Motion on that, or motion not to do that, or?
I'll make a motion to purchase the additional computer station for the town clerk.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll table this masonry proposal.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I had talked to both masons about that, and I think, so as I said, Jay Lawrence came out and did a new survey. You've got a copy of that there. Obviously, the price went up from having more work to do, and I spoke to Reyes about updating their quote, and he thought that was as we had mentioned, that the other method would be the appropriate thing to do, and should. I think Brian actually had asked about when that work. Of course, this was not done that long ago, and what sort of guarantee there was on that work or anything. But Jay said that he had concerns about not using this method when it was built. I mean, this is obviously him saying it after the fact, but that as a subcontractor on that, he was bound by what the general contractor wanted to do, and the general contractor wanted to follow what was designed. So that's why it was built the way it was. So he said if it had his druthers, he would have installed this sort of system to enable it to move. Now, of course, there's no way to predict how the building would move, so even that system might not have allowed for movement everywhere. But anyway, that's the situation we're in. So I expect that I'll get, I was hoping, I was expecting I'd get a response from Richie sometime this last week, and I mean, he said he received it, he said, yep, that sounds good, I can do it, and then I haven't heard anything from him. So I'm expecting I'll get that soon. I sent him an email to remind him this morning, but I didn't get anything today, so I'm sorry that I don't have anything to show you for that, but we'll have it for next time, I believe.
Okay, so on this interlocal agreement,
Yeah.
that's
So,
6 hours a week is what we have.
correct, yeah, so that's 6 hours a week for,
And that, Justin thought that would be sufficient
Yeah,
to do
yes.
what he needed to do in town. And all the other towns are on board with that.
yeah, 2 towns have signed, and the other 2, I believe, they're just meeting later this month. So, as far as I know, everybody's on board with that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the meeting where they finalized that, but I don't think there were any substantial changes. A couple things to note in there, that there is a ability for so the towns agree on it, but then there is sort of a committee formed that is managing this agreement. So I think the idea is that you would, as it says in the agreement, the idea is that you would appoint me to be on that committee to represent the select board in approving things, and then also that board would have, one of the things that it would review annually would be any budget for training for Justin to do. And there's some language in there about how much that can be changed, or how it can be changed. That limits it, sort of cost limits it a bit. Can't remember, I mean, obviously there's kind of standard language about if you want to leave the agreement, there's a way to do that, and if you leave agreement, what happens. things like that, but I didn't see anything in there that was out of the ordinary. There is one sort of relic in there, which is that Johnson had another staff person who was sort of acting as a supervisor for Justin, and that's sort of being phased out. They're still present in the language of the contract, but my understanding is that as Justin has become more experienced, there's less of a need for that over time.
Johnson's the town that will be in charge of his payroll.
Correct, yeah, so he'd be an employee in the town of Johnson, so all of Johnson's personnel policies would apply, and they would be paying him and his compensation and benefits, and then they would, I believe it says it will invoice the other towns on a monthly basis.
That's what
Yeah.
it says not less than quarterly, but not more than monthly.
Right.
Town of Johnson will invoice Hyde Park, St. George, Berkshire, and Sheldon.
And as I mentioned last time, there is an administrative fee for that invoicing that is the same for all towns, per billing, I assume, yeah. No, Justin was here last Friday. He and I went out and assessed Steve Trombley's house, which was the only one that needed to be done left that we determined, and that went well. As I say, I think he's still ahead of schedule on doing this year, finishing this year's grand list. And again, if we approve this, as soon as July 1st rolls around, we start paying him under the interlocal agreement, and the previous agreement we had with him is nullified. So we, instead of paying him the hourly rate we have now, it would go to the rate under the interlocal agreement on July 1st. But it'll only be 6 or 8 hours left to work on it anyway. But as far as I know, that's working out well. And as I said, from the other towns, I hear a lot of positive feedback on how he's doing with them. And
All right.
yeah. So I guess what I'm looking for here is a motion to accept this, and then to appoint me to authorize me to sign for the town on here, unless you, I suppose the chair can do it as well, but I think the idea is that appoint me to this board that is overseeing the agreement for the 5 towns in between during the year while it's in force.
Make a motion to approve this interlocal agreement as written, and to appoint the town administrator as the representative of the town select board, can act on behalf of for the purpose of this board. If it was.
Second on that.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Today's the 10th.
Witnesses.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I'm looking for it in here, wasn't there?
Oh, was there? Maybe. I think there might have been another place to initially. Yes, I believe he said, at the last meeting that he has entered a 2-year agreement with Fairfax, so he would accept. That, I believe the shortest term he would accept would be 2 years.
But he didn't specify when he said lower hours, right? He said he would do less than.
Correct,
40.
yeah.
Did he offer any pricing on less than 40?
No, not directly. I'm trying to think if I received
Can we give him a proposal, see if he accepts it? And for what hourly charge he's gonna charge us for that proposal? If he agrees to it, he can write a contract and we'll sign it. I think that'll be the way to go, wouldn't it?
I think it depends on, we request how many hours we'd like. I don't know, is everybody comfortable not getting the breakdown of what the hourly rate was? That was the other
Yeah.
question we had.
Yeah, and he did send me an email about that. I'm sorry if I didn't send it to you next. One of the follow-ups was to determine the per cost itemized breakdown of our costs. Unfortunately, I can't come up with numbers that can be shared in a format that is easily understandable. One thing to consider is that divulging such information will give other police services competitors inside information that undermines the competitive bid process.
But if we're the town that's requesting that because that's where our money is going, we're not divulging it to a competitor.
So that was his answer about that. Yeah, I've not gotten specifics from him about how little he would do. The only thing he has said repeatedly is that he doesn't see any reason why 40 hours, why they wouldn't be able to do 40 hours. And he confirmed that with the last email I got from him.
What was the price on the first two? He gave a 3-year breakdown for 40 hours, and he gave a year 1 cost and a year 2 cost.
I think year 2 is slightly less, other than like 186 for year 1 or something like that.
Yeah, last thing I got from this is given our current
Contract was, hourly rate of $66 an hour. Also 5% administrative fee.
Right, but the proposal going forward was like $78 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
The last communication I had with Jesse Woods in Enosburg was that they had decided not to to pass on the contract entirely. And he thought that Richford was considering doing the same. I don't know if they have or not, but they were trying to see if he would just do a 6-month contract, and he didn't want to do that, so they passed on it. So.
Well, my feeling is we need some coverage. I don't think the town only needs 40 hours a week.
No. Do we know an average of what he's provided us per week? Because I know at first it was, they couldn't guarantee us.
I haven't got the reporting data from May, maybe, that I have seen. I had somewhere there was I had kind of tumbled up the last few reports. I'm not sure if I made an average of it or not, but I do believe that there have been more hours provided in the last couple of months than there have been in the winter. But let's see if I can. So, here.
57 hours. Sounds like the month of March, it was 28 hours.
Yeah.
We were getting 8, we're supposed to be getting 8, or at least a minimum of 8 in that last contract. We could do a contract for 10 hours a week.
If he's, willing to do that for 2 years.
Yeah, well, that's,
Yeah.
if he isn't willing to, we'll have to go back, figure out what we need to do, but we didn't budget enough money to do 40
No.
hours a week.
No.
And I don't know as if there's a need for 40 hours a week right now.
I don't know if we could, that's a hefty price tag for us for a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And our current budget is 60,000.
Correct.
Send them an email.
All right.
Ask them if they're willing to do a 10-hour a week.
Okay.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
1 or 2 year contract.
Okay.
Have them come up with a number what that's gonna cost the town, and we'll get right back to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had totaled up the last month since November, and there were 52 in November, 40 and a half in December, 67 and a half in January, 40 in February, 28 and a half in March, and then 57, almost 58 in April, so kind of a little over. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's more like 12. One month it was a lot lower, so.
Alright, we're gonna sign some warrants there. I'm gonna read the meeting minutes. Get those approved. Okay, select board water commissioner meeting, May 28th, 2024. I'm here at the town office. In attendance was Stephen Dodd, Nick Norris, Richard Piasny. Others in attendance are Brian Derry, Matthew Stebbins, and Brian. I'm not gonna pronounce that right, so I'm not gonna pronounce it, from Northwest Access TV. All right, 7:44, I call the meeting to order and I read the agenda, asked for any additions. Brian is here again about the street lighting on the end of his road. Matt submitted a request from Caden DeBurge to name a road and offered to give an administrator's report. 7:46, Brian asked about 2 streetlights on Sheldon Heights. Suggested Matt contact Northwest Regional Planning about feasibility. Brian asked about the annual audit. The audit has been received and finalized. Copies are available at the town office and on the website. And Matt printed out a copy for Brian. 7:53, the board reviewed the quotes for masonry repairs for the town office. The 2 quotes had different assessments of the damage and used different methods of repair. The board asked Matt to contact the 2 firms to get updated quotes. 7:59, the board took up the quotes for road paving received from Hungerford Paving, Pike Industries, and GW Whitecomb. I asked if Pike would be able to schedule the work soon. Matt said they'd be available in July. Brian asked which roads would be paved. 2 segments of East Sheldon Road will be paved with grant funds. Rice Hill Road will be finished off. excuse me, Church Street, Sheldon Road from Bridge 9 to Mill Street and the west end of Mill Street and High Street. 807, take move to accept the bid from Pike Industries to pave the designated roads at $89.10 per ton, seconded by Rick, motion carried. 809, I read the minutes from the May 13th meeting, motion made by Rick, seconded by Nick to approve the minutes as read. 816, the board took up paving on the Gristmill Park Ring and the fire department parking lot. Was unable to find a second company in the local area that was willing to bid this year. It needs to be determined whether the base around the fire department lot is solid enough to extend the pavement. If not, Steve said the road crew could rebuild the base. Gristmill Court may need to be shimmed. Matt will ask about installing a berm to keep water in the ice rink. Matt will contact the bidder and see about scheduling the work. 827, the board reviewed the latest draft of the interlocal agreement for Assessor Justin Mason. Under the agreement, the town of Johnson employs Justin and invoices the other towns for their prorated share of his compensation package, plus administration fee. Matt's running a cost estimate for 6 hours per week in Sheldon. Final agreement will be drafted at a meeting on May 31st and submitted to each select board for approval. 835, the board took up a proposal to contract town office internet services with Comcast and contract with Nemrick for their cloud services. High-speed internet is required to use Nemrick Cloud. Without this change, the on-site server will need to be replaced. The change will shift liability onto Nemrick as a service provider and allow the town to continue using its current server for other computing functions. 843 written and seconded by Nick to contract with Comcast for town office internet services and contracting Nemrick for cloud services. Motion carried. 844, the board took up a request from Cat Crusaders of Franklin County excuse me, for a $500 donation. Matt had spoken with Jamie Rushford about this request. It cost $80 to trap and sterilize each animal, and about 60 cats in Sheldon were serviced this past year. Steve advised that requests such as this should be made for the inclusion at town meeting. Motion was made by Nick and seconded by Rick to approve the $500 donation to Cat Crusaders. In 850, the town administrator gave a report. Matt asked the select board to set compensation for the animal control officer. 2 road crew members had been hired pending drug tests. They will be joining the town soon. The water leak in Sheldon Springs was repaired on June 1st. The back truck will assist in excavation. Public hearing on the draft town plan will be held June 25th. The select board will need to review the plan's zoning changes in Sheldon Springs and how it affects the definition of the sewer district. And our PC will be willing to give a presentation on these changes. Matt also gave updates on potential legislative changes to open meeting law and municipal conflict of interest policy. I propose policing committee with other area towns and camera inspection on Mill Street sewer. 910, Caden Diverge requested Cattle Drive as the name of the road to his development off the Cook Road. A motion by Nick, seconded by Rick to approve Cattle Drive as name of the road carried. 911, Nick moved, seconded by Rick to enter executive session to discuss personnel. 938, a motion was made by Nick, seconded by Rick to exit executive session and adjourn the meeting. Compensation for the animal control officer and other personnel matters were discussed. Next regular meeting is June 10th of 2024, 7:30, reported by Matt Stebbins. Make a motion to accept these minutes as read.
Make a motion.
Second on that, Matt?
Second.
All Opposed? You got anything else you need to share with us?
No, I'm just trying to think through here. I think I've talked about most things that we've been up to. Again, the water repair appears to have been successful. Again, it was probably, took a little longer and cost a bit more money than I thought it would, but it's worth it to have it done. Again, the camera work on the sewer will be done on Friday. Ready for that. I have a lot of communications I'm waiting back for, again, on the masonry codes, and I'm trying to get confirmation from the state about our grant agreement on the paving, on the road paving, just to I'd like to have that at hand before we finalize any dates with Pike. But as I said, the plan is to proceed with that in the last week of June. I did look into Brian's request about the street lighting. Again, I'm trying to get a hold of Kyle Brennan about it, NRPC, because I figured he would know more about that, being the transportation guy, but I think he's been busy the last few days. But one issue there is that intersection is, of course, on a state highway, and so I think the state has procedures for how they make decisions about where traffic lights should be placed, and I think that they would be involved if we wanted to do that, and Mike and I kind of did that. So as I believe I was saying, I was talking about street lighting, Brian's request for street lighting. I looked at the crash data for that intersection for the last 5 years, and we were only able to find 2 accidents that had occurred there, and only one of them happened at nighttime. So I don't think, given the state's criteria, I don't think that it would rate very highly on their procedure for ranking things for that. And again, it's not a pedestrian area. I think that some improvements could be made that might make the presence of the road more visible. One being maybe getting a larger road sign there. I think that might, I'm not exactly sure what the problem is he's trying to alert us to, but I think that might not be the road sign is sort of off the, it's a little bit up Sheldon Heights, and it may not be as easy to read as you're going by. I'm not sure if it's one of the reflective ones or not, but that might be a compromise solution. But and anyway, I'm hoping to talk to Kyle about if he knows anything about the procedure the state does for that, and whether there's some way I could find out about the cost and timeline for that. But again, just given what I was able to read about it, it does not seem like that is a likely candidate for the state approving that. And I don't know that the town would be able to do that on its own, given that it's a state highway. Anyway, so I've been learning a few things about street lighting by doing that. Again, unfortunately, we had the one employee potential employee who's not a potential employee anymore. So I would like some guidance from you guys on what I should be doing about that, whether I should reopen the search or possibly contact some other one of the people that we had said thanks, no thanks to, anyway, we appreciate some guidance on that. And then we have got the animal control officer on board. He actually was out to field a complaint today, as far as I know, where he had responded to one. So it seemed like he was well underway. I've got him an email address so that people can contact him about that way.
Okay.
And, other than the one road crew member, we are now, I believe, fully staffed as a town in terms of we have zoning, assessor, animal control, and mostly of our road crew and water, so that is,
Yeah.
that's a good feeling, so. Continue working on the town website a little bit, make it a little better, try and clean it up a little bit and make it more consistent. I did go to, again, I mentioned I went to this library board, mostly because I wanted to let them know about that open meeting law change, because I think it would affect them, because they do make some financial decisions about, so I think they would be a non-advisory board according to the law, so we may need to be finding, between them and the DRB, I think that they will definitely qualify as needing to have their meetings recorded. I've been talking to Matt Bouchard about some economical ways to do that. I'm not sure, on the planning commission I'm less certain, because they don't make a lot of decisions that have anything to do with money, or you know, they don't sit in judgment of things, so I'm not sure that they are I think that they are an advisory as opposed to a non-advisory board, but I'd like to get that confirmed with VLCT about that. But DRB is going to meet this month, so probably only for 15 or 20 minutes, but I'm planning on going to that, just because that's the one board I have not been to yet. Not thinking of anything else right now, so I'll just stop talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So are we gonna move forward with trying to find another selection for the third position for road crew?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in executive.
Okay.
And I think we've got pretty much everything else wrapped up.
I did have something written up for the, for a mowing, request. If that's what you'd like me to do, I'll just read it to you here.
Sure.
So as the town of Sheldon's accepted bids from contractors to perform roadside mowing on approximately 42 miles of roadway. That was my quick math on class 2 and 3 roads. The work would consist of 2 cuttings on each side of all class 2 and 3 town highways. First cutting should be completed between June 25th and July 12th. You can move the dates. The second cutting should be completed between August 15th and August 31st. Contractor is responsible for proper signage. Bids due Monday, June 24th by 3 p.m. at the town clerk's office. Bids should include the price per mile as well as the total bid amount. Bids should be sealed and labeled roadside mowing bid, include proof of insurance. Bids will be opened at select board meeting on Monday the 24th. The select board reserves the right to reject any and all bids. So, I don't know if there's any other language you'd like to have in there, or...
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it should cover it.
Okay, so I'll try to get that in a paper, and I'll send it to the one guy who is interested, and we'll see what we get, and you can deal with that on the
On the
next.
website, so you
Yep.
get in there and stuff.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, I'll take a motion on executive.
Make a motion to go into executive and then exit when you come out of executive session.
All right, a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will go into executive and then we will adjourn for the evening when we get back out.